Alright, in this video I'm excited to share with you a hypothesis, an idea, a concept that when you understand it, when you apply it, is really going to allow you a higher degree of mental and emotional freedom. Freedom from the baggage that tends to accumulate, that we tend to carry around, that we tend to find ourselves getting stuck in frequently when dealing with other people and when dealing with ourselves. So when you understand this, it's really going to take your consciousness, your understanding, your mental acuity to a completely another level and allow you a high degree of mental, intellectual, and emotional dexterity. This is a concept, this is an idea that I've been working on, thinking about for 5 or 6 years or so. So that's why I'm excited to share it with you right now, because it's something that's been really impactful, something that's been really transformative in my own life, and I've seen the results and I've seen the benefits. So of course I've been really into using the whiteboard lately, so of course I'm going to use that to explain the concepts. And the first one that we need to understand is abbreviated as ER. Basically what that stands for is Einstein's theory of relativity. And basically, to put it in kind of a nutshell, to put it in a really easy way to understand, what this is saying is that a measurement, an approximation, whatever you want to call it, is really only true relative to the instrument that it's used to take the measurement and its location in space-time. So how that applies to this conversation is that our estimations, our thoughts, our emotions, our mental approximations, our beliefs, our perceptions, or our measurements are relative only to this, the human nervous system, because that is the instrument that we are using to measure reality. It's the instrument we're using to perceive and influence our own lives. So while I'm on this point, while I'm on the subject, I want to just give a little forewarning that throughout the course of this video, as I go on and explain these concepts, I'm probably going to bring up some, quote, spiritual ideas and basically destroy them and prove that they're really not, otherworldly or supernatural, or things that you have to work a really long time to realize, or things that you have to give your life over to realize, or things that you need a guru to realize. They're things that are crystal clear and obvious, but they're so obvious, they're so apparent that we don't see them. Kind of like we don't really realize that we're actually in an ocean of air. But because we're in it, we don't have any idea of it because it's just around us all the time. Like most of the time, we're not noticing our heart beating, we're not noticing our breathing because it just happens all the time, so we just tune it out because our minds are only programmed to look for differences and look for threats in the environment. To use the kind of cliche, like a fish doesn't really know it's in water because that's all it's ever known and that's all that it's immersed in. So it has no contrast, it has no dexterity to really know any difference or know anything other than that. So again, just to recap, we have Einstein's theory of relativity, which says any measurement is any measurement is true relative to the instrument they use to take it and its location in space-time. So how this relates to our conversation is because what we're using is a human nervous system. We think we see the external world. I think I'm really holding a pen, but all I'm really perceiving is data, is stimuli on my nervous system. If my nervous system didn't work, I wouldn't be able to perceive the pen. If I was blind, the pen would mean something totally different to me. If I didn't have any hands, I couldn't feel the pen in the same way. And to bring up the kind of a spiritual quote idea of kind of cosmic consciousness or unity consciousness, or this thing that people really hype up and really kind of boast about and think that, you got to meditate for a long time to realize it, or that's this cosmic, otherworldly, mystical thing, is this experience of realizing that the observer and the observed are the same, and realizing that, everything in reality is really a unity, is really a symbiotic, organism, or a symbiotic creation, whatever you want to call it. And people think, oh, this is really amazing, and wow, you have to, really work, and maybe one day you can achieve it. But actually, based on what I've already told you, you already know it. Because what you observe is actually the same as the observer. So actually, all the time in your everyday life, you're experiencing the unity of reality. You're experiencing cosmic consciousness. You're experiencing unity consciousness. You're experiencing enlightenment, more or less. We don't even know it because it's so apparent all the time, we forget about it. So what I mean by that is, For example, we open our eyes and we look out in the world and we think, wow, there's the world outside of us and we're over here and we're separate. But actually, all we're seeing is our nervous system. All we're perceiving is the state of our nervous system. And a really easy way to understand that is you wake up in the morning and you just, some days you feel great. You know, maybe you had a great night's sleep. Maybe you got a massage before you went to bed. Maybe you did yoga, so your body just feels loose and you feel just really great. So then you think generally about the world that's, you know, pretty good place, and your day just seems to go really well, you know, from there. But there's some days when you're just in a bad mood, or you're just annoyed, or you're just really pissed off, or things just aren't really feeling right for you, and you think, man, my life just kind of sucks. I can't believe I'm doing this. People in my life are mean. They don't understand me. Bad things keep happening. In reality, it has less to do with the state of the external world, whether good or bad, and more the state of your nervous system. Because the magical, the amazing thing is if you were to sit down and chill out and meditate or do yoga or do something to change the state of your nervous system, your idea of reality will automatically change. Which is why people will get really into drugs or really into, you know, smoking a lot of weed or getting drunk or all these things, is because they're stuck in an emotional state which binds them to think the world is this way, which probably doesn't feel good or doesn't feel like it should. So they take a stimulant of some sort of stimuli to get a response, and then, oh wait, now the world's a good place. Now, okay, I feel happy, I feel outgoing, the world's nice, people are nice, I feel happy. But really, the world didn't change. All that changed was the state of the human nervous system. So in reality, what you're observing about the external world is the same thing as the observer, because all you're observing is the human nervous system. So what you're using to observe the human nervous system is the human nervous system. And what you're observing is the human nervous system. So if you've ever seen the Ouroboros or the Zen circle, it's basically this. It's basically the snake eating its tail, which basically means it's the nervous system here. Here's the nervous system perceiving itself forever, basically, because that's where we're at. We're in the nervous system. That's the instrument that we're using to perceive reality. That's the instrument that we're using to measure reality, to make judgments, to make approximations. So to sum that all up and to put it in a pretty little picture, we don't really know the external world. All we know is the state of our nervous system. All we know is the instrument we're using to measure reality, to, you know, approximate, to interact with reality. So again, this is relative just to the state of our nervous system. So another illustration for that is, you know, let's say an attractive person. You're walking down the street and you see an attractive person and you think, wow, that person is attractive. But let's say you're in a bad mood and this person, you're just not even paying attention, you see them and they walk by you, whatever, they're not attractive. But let's say it's been months since you've been with another human being and your sex drive is just out of control, you're really just in a state of high arousal. So you see a person, you think, oh my God, they're the most attractive person I've ever seen. But in reality, the state of your nervous system is really changing your perception, changing your estimation a lot. So if you're in a bad mood, or if you're in a committed relationship, the person's not going to be very attractive. But if you're in a high state of arousal, or you're feeling kind of lonely, or kind of just desperate, or really needing human connection, the person's going to be a lot more attractive. Which brings up another huge point here that we want to talk about, which is the word that we use all the time, which is. So we use this word, and we'll go back to the example, we say this person is attractive, which actually, in actuality, they're not attractive, they're not unattractive. All that's attractive is the feelings that's generated in our body based on, the feelings that we have, the associations, the ideas, the beliefs that such and such people are attractive, such and such people are not attractive. I am attracted to this. If you're straight, you're attracted to females. If you're gay or bi, you're attracted to the same sex. So all of that is contingent upon and relying upon your human nervous system. Now that's kind of a mundane example, but where the rubber really hits the road and where it really becomes important is in dealing with other human beings. When we say, oh, this person is bad, or this person is good, or this person always does this, we're failing to realize and failing to remember that actually it's not the person, it's just our human nervous system. And it's what's going on inside of us, and it's what they are reminding of us. It's the stimulus and response that they're generating within us. So again, just to get back to this idea of is and relativity, we can say that another example is the grass is green. Everyone can agree on that. You're probably thinking, that's true, yeah, the grass is green. Actuality, it's not green. It's just green to the human nervous system. To an ant, it's probably another color. To someone who's colorblind, it's a totally different color. To someone who's blind, it's obviously not a color. To a dog, it's a different color. To a lot of different creatures, to a lot of different instruments, it's a completely different color. So for us to say it is green, that's really not the truth. It's just kind of a lazy way of looking at reality, and it's lazy in the sense that we think what we perceive is the only reality. Because, oh, well, this is what's registering in our nervous system, and we think, oh, well, that has to be the external world, when in reality, it's not really the external world, it's just the state of our human nervous system. So if we take, say, a hallucinogenic or some sort of conscious altering chemical, that grass may turn into an ocean, that grass may turn into faces, it may turn into living creatures, it may turn into a lot of different things, it may change colors. So again, we have to ask, is it really the grass that's green? Or is it really just the state of the human nervous system, which is, only true relative to our instrument and its location in space-time? So those are things we really need to consider and think about. Now, obviously, it's really easy for me to talk about it. It's really easy for us to talk about it in dialogue. Where the rubber hits the road and where it becomes really important is when we actually apply it to our lives. When we actually realize that actually what I think about this other person, what I think about the world, what I think about myself, it's not really the thing. It's really just this, the human nervous system, and it's really just the nervous system studying the nervous system, studying the nervous system to the infinite regression. So again, that's something that I've been really digesting for a while, and hopefully this has been beneficial. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Hopefully you can see clearly what I'm demonstrating, and hopefully you had a physiological, emotional shift to where you now see things from a broader perspective. Because this idea, sure, you may have heard it in other ways, you may have heard it in a book, and it's really easy to say, oh yeah, I read that, whatever. But that's lazy, and that's just kind of being kind of a redneck about it, or being just an intellectual hillbilly. Because it's easy in 2011 to just say, oh, I heard that idea, heard that idea, heard that idea, heard that idea, and just be on this novelty kind of ADD roller coaster. When in reality, simple things like this are what create huge changes. Simple things like this are what can really change your reality, really change your life, and really change you as an individual, you as a being existing in space-time. So again, just to recap, the observer and the observed are the same thing. They always have been, they always will be, because they're just the human nervous system. And I just told you that for free. You don't need to worship me, you don't need to pay me $1 million, you don't need to go live in my ashram, you don't need to do yoga for 1,000 years, you don't need to chant, you don't need to do any of that stuff, because it's already true, and it already has been true. All you have to do is remember and practice remembering. You're going to forget, I forget, everyone forgets, but luckily we have life, we have time, so we need to just remember. And remember that the observer and the observed are the same. We don't really know the external world. All we know is the state of our human nervous system. If you want to change your world, you want to change your worldview, you want to change your life, change the state of your nervous system. So that's why I share yoga techniques. That's why I share herbs. So I share all these different strategies, because ultimately they engineer changes in the human nervous system, which then engineers changes in your external world, which makes you feel better and helps improve the quality of your life. And based on these ideas, can really give you a high level of dexterity and freedom on the mental and emotional plane. So if you have any questions or comments, hopefully you do, post them below, and I'll talk to you soon.